Amara's rental car kicked up dust along the rural Botswana road as she raced toward her research station. The radio crackled with emergency broadcasts. Alien vessels had landed in 17 locations across Africa. 3 of them were in the Okavango Delta, directly in her research zone. Dr. Okonkwo, please respond. Her satellite phone buzzed. Tao's voice sounded strained. They're here, at the station. Don't engage, she replied, pressing harder on the accelerator. I'm 20 minutes out. What are they doing? Taking samples. From everything. Plants, soil, water. They have drones in the river. His voice dropped. Behemoth charged one. Destroyed it completely. They're angry. Amara's heart hammered in her chest. Behemoth, the massive bull hippo she'd studied for 7 years, had a territorial range that included her research station's riverfront. At 6 tons, with a jaw capable of crushing crocodile skulls, he'd earned his name honestly. Keep the research team away from the water, she instructed. I'm almost there. The research compound came into view as she crested the final hill. 3 insectoid aliens moved methodically across the grounds, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming in the afternoon sun. Hovering drones extended sampling probes into everything they passed. Near the water's edge, a larger alien directed operations from beside a damaged collection unit. Amara parked and approached cautiously, hands visible. The lead alien swiveled compound eyes toward her, mandibles clicking rapidly. You damage research equipment, the translator device at its thorax announced. Territorial water-dwelling grass processor attacked scientific drone. That's my research station you're sampling without permission, Amara replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. And that grass processor is a hippopotamus, one of the most dangerous large animals in Africa. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Designation: incorrect. Analysis indicates primitive herbivore with limited intelligence and no tactical applications. The compound eyes shifted to the water, where Behemoth's eyes and nostrils were just visible above the surface. Inefficient design. Excessive mass. Poor thermal regulation. Amara had spent her entire career studying hippopotamus behavior and intelligence. The dismissal of her life's work stung sharply. With respect, your analysis is incomplete. Hippos kill approximately 500 humans annually in Africa. They're highly territorial, surprisingly fast, and possess one of the strongest bite forces of any land mammal. The alien's head tilted at an unsettling angle. Primitive defense mechanisms. Our preliminary analysis of Earth species is sufficient for classification purposes. It gestured to a hovering display showing Earth's designation. Resources World, Class C. What does that classification mean? Amara asked, though she suspected the answer. Inhabited planets with technically capable species, but limited development potential. Resource extraction, approved with minimal disruption to dominant species. The alien turned away, clearly considering the conversation finished. You will receive extraction schedules within 7 rotations. As the alien moved away, Tao approached cautiously from the main building. Dr. Okonkwo, they took samples from everything, even the staff. Blood, hair, skin cells. Did anyone resist? Collins tried. They paralyzed him with some kind of energy pulse. He's conscious now, but shaken. In the river, Behemoth submerged completely, only to resurface closer to the bank. His small eyes tracked the alien's movements with unmistakable aggression. They're making a mistake, Amara said quietly. They're seeing what they expect to see, not what's actually there. How do you fight aliens with spaceships? Tao asked, watching the Vexcar vessels hover above the delta. What chance does Earth have? Amara watched as Behemoth's massive form shifted beneath the water, a prehistoric force of nature refined by millions of years of evolution. The aliens had dismissed him as an inefficient design, without understanding the perfect adaptation he represented. They're approaching this all wrong, she murmured. They think technological superiority is all that matters. They don't understand Earth at all. A series of ripples spread across the water's surface as Behemoth moved with surprising silence for his enormous size. The lead alien, still focused on its damaged equipment, remained oblivious to how close it stood to the territorial boundary of Africa's most dangerous herbivore. "Should we warn them?" Ta whispered. Amara considered this for a moment, then shook her head. "No. I think it's time they learned about Earth's wildlife firsthand. Sometimes the best education comes from direct experience." In the water, Behemoth waited, patient and primal, a living embodiment of Earth's evolutionary power. The lesson was about to begin. 3 weeks passed, with the Vexcar presence growing increasingly oppressive. Research stations across Africa were being repurposed as alien outposts, and the extraction surveys expanded daily. From her makeshift blind overlooking the delta, Amara documented everything. "They're tagging another group downstream," Ta reported, lowering his binoculars. "Smaller bulls only. 5th time they've avoided Behemoth's territory." Amara adjusted her long-range scanner. "They're learning. After that drone incident, they're keeping their distance." The massive bull hippo had destroyed 3 more Vexcar sampling devices that ventured too close to his territory. Each time, the aliens had withdrawn without confrontation, making notes on their hovering screens with obvious frustration. Her satellite phone vibrated. General Harrison's voice came through with unusual urgency. "Dr. Okonkwo, are you somewhere secure?" "As secure as possible, with aliens patrolling everywhere." "What's happening?" The Vexcar just announced their superiority demonstration to the United Nations Security Council. "It's scheduled for next week." His voice tightened. "We've seen records of these events from their previous conquests. They're public displays designed to break resistance." "How does it work?" Amara asked, motioning Ta closer to listen. "They bring out their apex bioweapon, the Vorax, and pit it against whatever champion species the planet selects. If the planet's champion loses, which has happened in all 17 previous cases, the Vexcar accelerate their extraction timeline." Amara's mind raced. "And if we refuse to participate, then they choose our champion for us, typically selecting the weakest suitable candidate. Either way, it's designed as psychological warfare." Ta pointed urgently to the river where a larger Vexcar vessel had appeared, hovering over the eastern section of the delta. "They're setting up some kind of structure," he whispered, adjusting the observation scope. "Circular, like an arena. They're building it here, in the delta?" Amara felt a chill despite the African heat. "Standard procedure," Harrison confirmed. "They construct the arena near the natural habitat of what they consider the dominant predator species. In previous worlds, that meant creatures roughly equivalent to our big cats or crocodiles." "What options are we considering?" Amara asked, watching alien construction drones assembling the massive circular structure at the delta's edge. "Our scientists simulated encounters with every apex predator on Earth. African elephant, Siberian tiger, polar bear, saltwater crocodile, all projected to lose against the Vorax's specifications." His frustration was palpable even through the satellite connection. "The damn thing is engineered specifically to counter natural predator attack patterns." Amara's gaze drifted to where Behemoth surfaced briefly, his scarred hide glistening in the afternoon sun. At over 6 tons, with jaws that could exert more pressure than any land predator, he was the undisputed ruler of this section of the delta. "What about a hippopotamus?" she suggested. There was a long pause on the line. The simulation team didn't consider hippos. The Vexcar biological advisor specifically categorized them as non-combatants, herbivores with defensive aggression only. "That's exactly why we might have a chance," Amara said, excitement building. "They've misclassified hippos completely. These aren't gentle plant eaters. They're territorial killing machines that happen to eat plants." "You're serious about this?" Harrison sounded skeptical. "Completely serious. The Vexcar have gathered data on hunting patterns, predatory behaviors, and attack sequences. But a hippo doesn't hunt. It defends. There's a fundamental difference in how they fight. She watched as Behemoth patrolled his territory with methodical precision. And I have the perfect candidate. I'll need more than your enthusiasm, Doctor. The future of our planet might depend on this choice. Amara began transferring research files from her tablet. I'm sending you 7 years of behavioral data on a specific bull hippo. 6 tons, approximately 30 years old, with a documented history of killing 3 crocodiles and 2 rival bulls. We call him Behemoth. The general fell silent as he reviewed the incoming data. After several minutes, he spoke again. The combat simulations team will need to see this. If there's even a small chance. There's more than a small chance, Amara insisted, watching the bull hippo submerge once more. The Vexcar have made a critical error in their assessment. They've confused diet with temperament. You realize capturing such a dangerous animal will be extremely difficult, Harrison cautioned. Amara smiled grimly. That's what gives me hope. If we can't easily capture him, imagine what he'll do to their engineered weapon. As darkness fell over the delta, Amara and Ta watched the alien arena taking shape, a perfect circle half a mile across, designed to showcase humanity's inevitable defeat. But for the first time since the invasion began, Amara felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. The sun beat down mercilessly as Amara surveyed the aftermath of their 3rd failed capture attempt. The specialized transport vehicle lay half-submerged in the delta, its reinforced side panels crumpled like paper. Nearby, the veterinary team treated a wildlife officer with a dislocated shoulder, a surprisingly minor injury considering Behemoth's charge had flipped a 3-ton vehicle. That's it, declared Colonel Chen, the military liaison assigned to oversee the capture operation. We're switching to Plan B aerial tranquilizers from safe distance. Amara shook her head firmly. Aerial delivery won't penetrate his hide effectively. The dosage required would kill him, and we need him at full strength. Dr. Okonkwo. Chen's voice tightened with frustration. In 48 hours, the Vexcar expect Earth's champion. We've lost 3 vehicles, injured 4 personnel, and haven't gotten within 20 meters of the target. The Vexcar observer, scientist Zilktur, clicked its mandibles in what Amara had come to recognize as amusement. Primitive methodology yields predictable failure. The specimen clearly possesses only instinctual defensive responses, no cognitive capacity for cooperation. Amara had endured days of such commentary as the insectoid scientists documented their attempts. Each failure seemed to reinforce the aliens' dismissive assessment of Earth's wildlife. We're approaching this wrong, she said suddenly, watching the ripples where Behemoth had retreated to deeper water. We're treating him like a subject to be captured, rather than a territorial individual to be communicated with. Chen looked at her incredulously. Communicate? With a hippo? Their vocalizations are more complex than previously understood, Amara explained, already moving toward her research equipment. Hippos produce sounds both above and below water. Their subsonic communications can travel for kilometers through water. Working through the afternoon heat, Amara assembled her specialized hydrophone array along the riverbank, where Behemoth frequently patrolled. Ta helped position underwater speakers while the military team watched skeptically. Behemoth has a distinctive vocal signature, she explained to Chen as they completed the setup. I've been recording his calls for years. Each hippo has unique patterns, territorial announcements, warnings, greetings. You're suggesting we talk to it. Chen's doubt was evident. Not exactly talking, Amara clarified. More like establishing a predictable pattern of non-threatening signals. Hippopotamuses are highly intelligent about territorial boundaries. They create complex mental maps. The Vexcar scientist moved closer, compound eyes fixed on the equipment. Rudimentary sound matching. Our juveniles master such techniques during early development phases. Amara ignored the comment, focusing instead on her equipment. I've isolated a series of Behemoth's own calls that correlate with boundary patrol rather than aggression. We'll establish a pattern, then gradually introduce new elements. As evening approached, Amara activated the system. Deep, resonant rumbles emanated from the underwater speakers, sounds too low for human ears to detect fully, but visible as ripples spreading across the water surface. "Now we wait," she said. Hours passed. The military teams set up floodlights along the shore as darkness fell. Near midnight, the water stirred. Behemoth's massive form broke the surface 30 meters offshore, eyes reflecting the artificial light. "He's responding to the boundary calls," Amara whispered, adjusting the frequency pattern slightly. Another rumble echoed through the water. The great hippo remained motionless for several minutes, then produced a series of low vocalizations. Amara quickly recorded the response, analyzing its pattern. "He's establishing a counter-rhythm," she explained to the increasingly interested observers. "This is how they negotiate territorial boundaries with other hippos." Through the night, Amara maintained the sonic exchange. By dawn, Behemoth had moved gradually closer to shore, responding with increasingly complex vocalizations. The massive bull now floated just 15 meters from the bank, closer than any previous capture attempt had achieved. "Remarkable adaptive response," the Vexcar scientist noted, mandibles working rapidly as it recorded observations. "The specimen displays rudimentary pattern recognition exceeding predicted capabilities." "It's not rudimentary," Amara corrected, carefully adjusting her equipment. "It's sophisticated communication that evolved over millions of years. You've underestimated his intelligence because it doesn't match your expectations." As the sun climbed higher, Amara took an extraordinary risk. She approached the water's edge alone, carrying a portable version of her subsonic emitter. The device produced a careful sequence of rumbles, boundary acknowledgement, non-aggression signals, and a new pattern she composed based on Behemoth's responses. The water stirred. Behemoth surfaced just 10 meters away, his small eyes fixed intently on Amara. His massive jaws remained closed, his breathing steady. "What's happening?" Chen whispered from the safety perimeter. "First contact," Amara replied without taking her eyes off the hippo. "He's recognizing me as a boundary negotiator rather than a territorial threat." For nearly half an hour, Amara remained at the water's edge, exchanging subsonic patterns with the massive bull. When she finally took 3 steps backward, Behemoth did something unprecedented. He followed, maintaining the same distance. "Impossible," clicked the Vexcar scientist, compound eyes dilating with apparent confusion. "The specimen demonstrates symbolic communication capacity." "Not impossible," Amara replied, continuing her careful retreat as Behemoth followed at a measured pace. "Just unexpected." Sometimes the most direct approach isn't technological superiority. It's understanding another species on its own terms. As Behemoth followed her toward the specially prepared containment pool, Amara allowed herself the first genuine smile since the invasion began. The Vexcar had overlooked something fundamental about Earth's wildlife. And soon, their engineered weapon would learn the consequences firsthand. The mobile command center hummed with activity as the countdown to the confrontation entered its final 12 hours. Massive view screens displayed the Vexcar arena from multiple angles, a perfect circle half a mile across, the eastern half filled with deep water, the western portion a mix of muddy shore and artificial terrain. "Satellite confirms 23 Vexcar vessels in high orbit," reported a communications officer. "Their broadcast systems are linking to every major network on Earth. They're making sure everyone watches." General Harrison studied the tactical display with a grim expression. Classic psychological warfare. The spectacle matters more than the outcome. He turned to Amara. "How's our champion?" She gestured to the specialized holding pool where Behemoth floated, only his eyes and nostrils visible above the water. "Physically, he's perfect. We've kept human interaction minimal and maintained his feeding schedule. His testosterone levels are actually elevated. He seems to sense the upcoming territorial challenge." "And the communication system?" Harrison asked. "Fully operational. The subsonic transmitters are positioned throughout the arena's water section. We've programmed them with Behemoth's territorial markers and added a new frequency pattern that should help direct his aggression toward the Vorax. Colonel Chen approached with a tablet displaying the latest intelligence. The Vexcar are broadcasting specifications of their champion. Apparently, this is standard procedure before these demonstrations, designed to intimidate the opposition. The central screen filled with rotating schematics of the Vorax. The bioengineered creature resembled a nightmarish fusion of reptile and insect, 12 feet tall at the shoulder, with 6 limbed appendages ending in serrated claws. Its tripart jaw contained multiple rows of razor-sharp teeth, and armored plates covered vital areas. Tri-layer dermal armor, Chen read from the specifications. Accelerated healing capabilities. Neural battle processor with adaptive response patterns. Thermal vision. Projected bite force of 4,500 psi. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Harrison spoke. Their champion was engineered specifically for combat. Ours eats grass and lies in water most of the day. He looked at Amara. Any final words of confidence, Doctor? Before she could respond, the doors slid open. Ambassador Krizix entered with a full delegation of Vexcar officials, their chitinous forms catching the light from the displays. Final inspection, announced the translator at the ambassador's thorax. Confirmation of champion parameters required before combat initialization. The delegation moved directly to the observation window overlooking Behemoth's holding pool. The massive hippo submerged completely upon their approach, then resurfaced with a warning snort. Specimen designation. Hippopotamus amphibius, noted a Vexcar scientist, consulting a hovering data display. Mass, approximately 5,800 kilograms. Primarily herbivorous. Limited cognitive capacity. No significant evolutionary adaptations for combat scenarios. Amara stepped forward. I believe your assessment contains critical errors. Ambassador Krizix's compound eyes swiveled toward her. Elaborate. Hippopotamuses are responsible for more human fatalities in Africa than any other large mammal, she explained. They possess territorial aggression that exceeds most predators. Their bite force approaches 1,800 psi, enough to crush crocodile skulls, and they can reach speeds of 30 kilometers per hour despite their bulk. The ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly. Fascinating defensive adaptations, ultimately irrelevant against offensive engineering. He turned to General Harrison. Terms of engagement must be formalized. When your water cow fails, what does Earth surrender? Harrison hesitated, glancing at Amara, who nodded firmly. If our champion falls, he stated, the Vexcar may accelerate their resource extraction timetable as originally planned. Acceptable, clicked the ambassador. And when your primitive specimen inevitably fails, what territorial concession do you offer? Harrison stood straighter. If Behemoth loses, the Vexcar may claim extraction rights to the African continent immediately. The human military personnel exchanged alarmed glances. Even Colonel Chen appeared shocked at the stakes. General, she whispered urgently, that's billions of lives, thousands of species. And if your engineered creation fails? Amara interrupted, addressing the ambassador directly. What does Earth receive in return? The ambassador's compound eyes gleamed with what might have been amusement. In the 17 prior demonstrations, this theoretical outcome has never required consideration. He paused, mandibles working. Should your champion prevail, Earth's classification will be elevated to protected status. Extraction activities will cease. Those terms are acceptable, Harrison confirmed, ignoring the murmurs from his staff. As the Vexcar delegation departed, Colonel Chen confronted Harrison. Sir, with all due respect, you just wagered an entire continent on a hippo. Not just any hippo, Amara corrected, watching Behemoth through the observation window. The massive bull floated calmly, showing none of the agitation typical of captive wildlife. We're betting on millions of years of perfect evolutionary engineering against artificial design. Harrison studied the tactical displays showing the arena preparations. The Vex-Car have conquered 17 worlds using the same strategy. Showcase their technological superiority. Break the population's will to resist. But they've never faced Earth. Or Behemoth, Amara added softly. As night fell, she made a final visit to the holding pool. The massive Hippos surfaced as she approached, his small eyes focusing on her with surprising intensity. "They think you're just a primitive water cow," she told him quietly. "They've run simulations, analyzed attack patterns, calculated bite forces, but they've never actually faced something like you. Something shaped by millions of years of real survival, not theoretical combat scenarios." Behemoth submerged again, circling the pool with deliberate, powerful movements. Tomorrow, the world would watch as Earth's champion faced the pride of Vex-Car bioengineering. And Amara found herself believing, against all logic and probability, that a grass-eating river dweller might just save humanity. Dawn broke over the Okavango Delta, painting the alien arena in gold and amber. Billions watched worldwide as hovering cameras provided live feeds of the circular battleground. The eastern half of the arena shimmered with deep water, carefully designed to replicate the natural habitat of Earth's champion. In the preparation chamber beneath the human observation platform, Amara made final adjustments to the subsonic communication system. Each transmitter was positioned strategically throughout the water section, ready to provide territorial markers that Behemoth would recognize. 4 minutes to release, announced Colonel Chen, checking the deployment schedule. General Harrison joined them, his expression grim. The Vex-Car High Command has arrived in orbit to witness the demonstration personally. This is bigger than we realized. Apparently, they stream these events throughout their dominion. Good, Amara said. Then everyone can watch what happens when they underestimate Earth. A tone sounded, indicating 30 seconds to release. Amara moved to the small window overlooking the transport container. Through the reinforced glass, she could see Behemoth shifting position, his massive body tensing as the water around him began to rise. "Release protocols initiated," announced the system. The container's roof retracted. Water rushed in from the arena above, creating a channel directly into the main pool. With surprising grace for his enormous bulk, Behemoth ascended through the opening and into the arena. On the main viewing screens, cameras tracked the hippo as he entered the deep water, circling once before submerging until only his eyes and nostrils remained visible. The classic hippopotamus surveillance posture that had served the species for millions of years. "Earth's champion has taken position," announced the official commentator. "The Vex-Car ceremonial introduction will commence." The arena's lighting shifted as a massive door opened on the western edge. Ambassador Krizix's amplified voice echoed across the water. "Today demonstrates the inevitable hierarchy of species. Observe superior design methodology." With a hydraulic hiss, the containment doors fully retracted. The Vorax emerged, even more terrifying in reality than in the specifications. 12 feet tall at the shoulder, its 6 limbs moved with unsettling coordination. The tripart jaw opened in a screech that sent birds flying from distant trees. Armored plates shifted as it surveyed the arena with predatory focus. "Vorax combat systems fully operational," announced the Vex-Car commentator. "Thermal sensors detecting target. Neural battle processors analyzing terrain advantages. Combat efficiency. Optimal." The engineered monstrosity moved with surprising grace toward the water's edge, its clawed appendages leaving deep impressions in the mud. At the shoreline, it paused, sensory appendages extending to analyze the water's depth and composition. In the command center, Amara activated the subsonic transmitters. The frequencies were inaudible to humans, but sensors showed the sound waves propagating through the water. Behemoth's territorial markers, amplified and directed toward the approaching threat. The Vorax extended one massive clawed limb to test the water's depth, sensors probing beneath the surface. Its neural processors calculated the optimal approach vector based on thousands of combat simulations. What happened next occurred so quickly that many viewers would need to watch the replay at reduced speed to fully comprehend it. The water exploded. Behemoth launched his 4-ton body fully out of the water with acceleration that defied his bulk. His mouth, capable of opening nearly 180 degrees, engulfed the extended limb entirely. The sound of splintering exoskeleton echoed across the arena as the hippo clamped down with over 1,800 pounds of bite force. The Vorax emitted a high-pitched shriek unlike anything its designers had programmed, the sound of a perfect weapon experiencing pain for the first time. It slashed at the hippo with its remaining limbs, tearing gashes in Behemoth's thick hide. But the bull hippo seemed not to notice. He did what hippos have done for millions of years when threatened: bit down and thrashed. The Vorax's neural processor flashed emergency signals, attempting to adapt to an attack pattern it wasn't programmed to counter. Its remaining limbs scrambled for purchase in the mud as Behemoth dragged it inexorably toward deeper water. Unprecedented attack vector, the Vexcar commentator announced, voice modules shifting to a higher frequency that suggested alarm. Behavioral response exceeds predicted parameters. In the command center, the tactical screens displayed the Vorax's vital signs, plummeting as Behemoth maintained his crushing grip. The hippo twisted violently, using his entire body weight as leverage against the struggling bioweapon. The sound resembled metal tearing combined with chitinous material splintering, a noise so distinctive that it momentarily silenced even the military personnel in the command center. With a final, powerful twist, Behemoth wrenched his massive head sideways. The Vorax split into 2 jagged sections, its neural processor core crushed between Behemoth's massive molars. 27 seconds had elapsed since first contact. Silence fell over the arena. The Vexcar commentator's translation system stuttered into silence. On the diplomatic viewing platform, Ambassador Krizix stood completely motionless, the insectoid equivalent of shock. Behemoth turned, dropping the mangled remains of the Vorax into the bloodied water. He bellowed a territorial call that vibrated through the stunned spectators' bodies, then submerged again, only his eyes visible above the crimson surface. In the command center, screens showed chaos erupting among the Vexcar delegation. Some officials were leaving hurriedly, while others gestured frantically at communication devices. Match duration, 27 seconds, whispered a technician, breaking the stunned silence. General Harrison turned to Amara, his expression a mixture of disbelief and dawning hope. What just happened? She watched the screens where Behemoth had resumed his patient floating, seemingly untroubled by the alien blood clouding the water around him or the deep gashes in his hide. Evolution happened, she replied simply. Millions of years of perfect design met artificial engineering and showed which one works better in the real world. Chaos erupted in the aftermath of Behemoth's victory. The Vexcar diplomatic shuttle trembled with Ambassador Krizix's rage as Earth's delegation stood firm in the orbital meeting chamber. Holographic displays replayed the 27-second battle on an endless loop, a constant reminder of the unprecedented defeat. Biological sabotage, genetic manipulation, chemical enhancement. The ambassador's translator struggled to keep pace with his furious mandible clicks. The specimen displayed capabilities inconsistent with baseline assessment. General Harrison remained impressively composed. The terms were clear, Ambassador. Our champion prevailed in fair combat. Earth now receives protected status as agreed. Scientist Zilktor projected data streams into the center of the chamber. The 3-dimensional display showed Behemoth's biological scans alongside normal hippopotamus baselines. The specimen exhibited impossible bite force and acceleration. The scientist insisted. Our preliminary biological surveys indicated maximum bite pressure of 1,800 psi and limited burst speed capabilities. Your surveys were incomplete, Amara countered, stepping forward with her own data. The holographic display shifted to show footage of wild hippos in various scenarios, charging predators, fighting rival bulls, defending territory. Hippopotamus bite strength varies significantly between individuals, she explained. Behemoth's jaw structure is unusual, the result of natural genetic variation and decades of territorial combat. We didn't engineer him. We simply recognized his natural capabilities. She displayed footage of hippos charging through water, creating explosive surges as they launched their massive bodies. As for acceleration, hippos have always been capable of surprising bursts of speed. Your assessment categorized them as slow based on their size, a fundamental misconception. The ambassador's compound eyes dilated rapidly. These explanations do not account for the specimen's combat effectiveness against our Vorax. That's because you're looking for technological explanations for evolutionary solutions, Amara replied. The Vorax was programmed to counter predator attack patterns, stalking, pouncing, grappling. Hippos don't hunt. They defend territory through overwhelming initial force. The shuttle bay doors opened unexpectedly. A new delegation entered, tall, amphibious beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their movements. The lead figure bowed respectfully to both parties. "We are the Nalik Collective," the translator announced. "We monitored the demonstration with great interest." Ambassador Krizix's mandibles clicked rapidly. "This gathering is unauthorized. The collective has no jurisdiction in classification proceedings." "We claim jurisdiction as fellow sentients," the Nalik representative countered, "and as former subjects of Vexcar extraction." The amphibious being's skin rippled with patterns that suggested deep emotion. For 3 centuries, the Dominion has used the Vorax demonstration to subjugate developing worlds. No species has defeated it, until now. The human delegation exchanged surprised glances as the implications became clear. "How many worlds?" Harrison asked quietly. 17 subjugated completely," replied the Nalik leader. 11 more paying resource tributes under threat of invasion. The Vorax demonstration is not scientific assessment. It is psychological warfare designed to break resistance before it forms. Ambassador Krizix's exoskeleton rattled with fury. The Nalik spreads falsehoods. The demonstrations prove biological superiority that justifies resource allocation. Then explain why your bioweapon failed, Amara challenged. If your engineering truly represents peak biological design, how did a primitive grass-eater defeat it in under 30 seconds? Before the ambassador could respond, Amara's tablet chimed with an alert. The tracking system showed Behemoth had been safely returned to the Delta. The medical team reported his wounds were already showing signs of healing, another survival advantage of his species. The Vexcar's extraction classification system violates multiple principles of interspecies ethics, the Nalik leader continued. We propose formal alliance with Earth and other affected worlds to establish new protocols based on mutual respect rather than technological intimidation. As the implications sank in, Amara studied the satellite feed showing Behemoth returning to his territory. The massive bull bellowed a warning call that sent smaller hippos scrambling from his path, yet they didn't flee completely. Instead, they regrouped at a respectful distance, watching his movements with unusual attention. "Something's happening," she murmured, zooming in on the pod's behavior. The other hippos are mimicking his positioning, the way he's partially submerged while keeping his eyes focused on potential approach vectors. Scientist Zilktor moved closer to examine the footage. Observational learning. From a non-social herbivore. Impossible. Not impossible, Amara corrected. Just unexpected. Hippopotamuses have always been capable of behavioral adaptation. They just never needed to demonstrate it to human researchers. General Harrison addressed the Nalik leader. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A coalition of independent worlds," the amphibian replied. "The Vexcar Dominion's extraction-based economy requires compliance through intimidation. Earth has shattered that paradigm. Others will follow." Ambassador Krizix's clicking reached a frenzied pace. "The High Command will not recognize this outcome. Your primitive victory will not stand. The Dominion fleet will return in force." "Perhaps," Harrison agreed calmly. but they'll face a different Earth than the one you cataloged. You've taught us an important lesson. Ambassador, never underestimate an adversary, no matter how primitive they appear. As the diplomatic standoff continued, Amara's attention remained fixed on the Delta footage. More hippos had gathered around Behemoth's territory, their behavior subtly shifting to match the dominant bulls. Something unprecedented was happening. Adaptation in real time, triggered by the pressure of an external threat. They're evolving, she whispered, not genetically, but behaviorally. They're adapting. And in that moment, she understood that Earth's greatest defense had never been its technology or military capability. It was this, the relentless, creative force of evolution that had shaped every species on the planet through endless cycles of threat and response, predator and prey, challenge and adaptation. The Vexcar had engineered the perfect weapon. Earth had evolved the perfect counter. 2 months after Behemoth's victory, Amara stood on the observation platform overlooking the expanded research facility. The once modest field station had grown into an international complex hosting scientists from 27 countries alongside NALIC specialists. Below, teams worked feverishly to understand Earth's wildlife through new perspectives. General Harrison joined her at the railing, his uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed Interspecies Defense Initiative. The Vexcar fleet has departed their staging area near Jupiter, he announced without preamble. Long-range sensors from the NALIC indicate they're gathering reinforcements from 3 neighboring systems. How long do we have? Amara asked, watching a team of researchers below as they fitted specialized sensors to a hippopotamus pool. 4 months at most. Intelligence suggests they're assembling a punitive strike force, substantially larger than their initial survey fleet. His expression remained grim. They'd never faced this situation before. 17 consecutive worlds surrendered after the Vorax demonstration. Then we'll be ready, Amara replied, guiding him toward the central holographic display. It showed a global map marked with wildlife integration zones, regions where strategic defenses now incorporated local species. The Behemoth Doctrine is being implemented worldwide, she explained, cycling through the display's regions. We're not trying to weaponize animals. That would be both impractical and unethical. Instead, we're developing defense systems that work with natural behaviors. The general studied the coastal defense screen with interest. The orca integration looks promising. Killer whales are perhaps Earth's most sophisticated natural predators, Amara explained. The communication pods we've developed don't control them. They simply create recognition patterns that distinguish between friendly and potentially hostile vessels. A NALIC scientist approached with a data tablet. The amphibious being's skin rippled with blue patterns indicating excitement. Dr. Okonkwo, the behavioral analysis from Behemoth's pod shows unprecedented developments. The display shifted to the Okavango Delta, where Behemoth's territory had expanded significantly. Satellite tracking showed the pod's movements over the past weeks, patterns that had never been documented before. The hippos are establishing sentry positions, Amara explained to Harrison. See these outposts. They've positioned younger bulls at strategic points along the territory boundary. When our drones approach, they signal to the main pod using specific vocalizations. They've developed an early warning system, Harrison asked incredulously. Not developed, adapted, Amara corrected. The behaviors existed in rudimentary form, but the Vexcar encounter accelerated their expression. Behemoth's success against the Vorax changed the selective pressures on the pod. The NALIC scientist's skin shifted to a thoughtful purple hue. We've analyzed 17 Vexcar conquest patterns. They consistently underestimate evolutionary adaptation. Their bioengineered weapons are designed against known threats, not emerging ones. Harrison studied the defensive projections with newfound appreciation. The Vexcar think they're returning to crush rebels. They don't understand they're walking into humanity's specialty, adaptation under pressure. Precisely, Amara agreed. Their entire dominion is built on predictability. They classify, they demonstrate superiority. They extract. Earth has disrupted that pattern fundamentally. Her tablet showed new footage from Behemoth's territory, the massive hippo teaching younger bulls how to execute the same sudden eruption from water that defeated the Vorax. The younger hippos practiced the movement repeatedly, each attempt coming closer to the explosive acceleration Behemoth had demonstrated. Observational learning, she explained. We always knew it existed in hippos, but never at this scale or with this intensity. The pod is optimizing its defensive capabilities. Will it be enough against a full invasion fleet? Harrison asked. By itself? No, Amara admitted, but it's happening everywhere. The Nalik have documented similar behavioral shifts in multiple species worldwide. Elephant herds are developing new defensive formations. Crocodiles are coordinating ambush patterns. Even corvids are displaying new problem-solving approaches when confronted with alien technology. Earth is waking up, the Nalik scientist observed, skin rippling with gold flecks of wonder. Not just Earth, Harrison corrected, gesturing to the communication logs from the growing coalition of worlds. The Vexcar's subjugated planets are in open rebellion. Your people's ships have evacuated resistance leaders from 3 systems already. The Dominion's power was always psychological, the Nalik explained. They convinced each world it stood alone against superior technology. Behemoth shattered that illusion with a single bite. As night fell over the Delta, Amara's monitoring systems tracked Behemoth's movements. The scared bull patrolled his expanded territory with methodical precision, periodically checking on the younger hippos now stationed at strategic points throughout the waterways. The Vexcar engineered the perfect weapon. She mused, watching the massive shape move through the water with deceptive grace. But Earth evolved the perfect counter, not just hippos, but humans who could recognize their potential. Harrison nodded thoughtfully. When they return, they'll face a planet they no longer recognize. No, Amara corrected with quiet confidence. They'll face a planet they never truly understood in the first place. In the waters below, Behemoth surfaced briefly, his scared hide glistening in the moonlight. His distinctive broken tusk and battle-worn features had become surprisingly familiar on screens worldwide, a symbol of Earth's unexpected defender. The hippo submerged again, disappearing beneath the dark water to continue his endless patrol, guardian of a territory that now extended far beyond the Okavango Delta to encompass an entire world. The Vexcar returned with a massive armada that darkened Earth's skies. Their first wave descended toward the most strategic targets, military installations, population centers, and, significantly, the Okavango Delta itself. Their primary objective: eliminate the symbolic victory that had sparked resistance across 17 star systems. But Earth was no longer the same planet they had cataloged months before. From the command center overlooking the Delta, Amara monitored the coordinated defense networks. Screens displayed real-time updates as the integrated systems engaged the invasion force. Coastal defense units report successful disruption of landing craft, announced Colonel Chen, who now coordinated the wildlife integration teams. The orcapods are interpreting the sonar signatures correctly. They're only engaging hostile vessels. General Harrison studied the tactical display as reports flooded in from around the globe. The elephant herds in Tanzania have secured the perimeter around 3 population centers. Minimal casualties on our side. What about the Delta? Amara asked, focused on the approaching Vexcar vessels that seemed determined to reach Behemoth's territory. They're deploying something big, Harrison replied grimly. Much larger than the original Vorax. The main screen displayed a massive transport vessel descending toward the arena site where Behemoth had defeated the Vorax months earlier. The ship's cargo doors opened to reveal the Supreme Vorax, a bioengineered monstrosity 3 times larger than the original, its exoskeleton reinforced with metallic components, its 6 limbs ending in powered cutting tools rather than natural claws, specifically designed to counter hippopotamus attacks, noted the Nalik commander, her skin darkening with concern. They've analyzed Behemoth's techniques extensively. Amara zoomed in on Behemoth's territory, where the satellite feed showed unusual activity. The pod had dispersed into a formation never before documented in hippopotamus behavior. Smaller bowls positioned in concentric circles around the main water channels, with Behemoth himself patrolling the center. "They've developed a defensive perimeter," she whispered, the implication sending a chill down her spine. "They're anticipating the attack." The Supreme Vorax disembarked from its transport vessel with ponderous steps that shook the ground. Standing over 20 feet tall, the bioengineered nightmare stomped toward the water's edge, sensors scanning for its target. Vex-Car commanders observed from hovering platforms, mandibles clicking in anticipation of revenge. "Hippopotamus detected," announced the Vex-Car tactical channel that Earth's systems had managed to intercept. "Primary target acquired. Engagement protocol initiated." The enhanced sensors on the Supreme Vorax detected Behemoth's massive form submerged ahead in deeper water. The commanders watched eagerly as their creation approached, its neural battle processor calculating optimal attack vectors based on thousands of simulations against hippopotamus movement patterns. "They've accounted for the eruption attack Behemoth used before," Harrison noted, studying the tactical readouts. "The Supreme Vorax has reinforced frontal armor and counter-grappling protocols." "Yes," Amara agreed with an unexpected smile. "They've prepared for exactly what happened last time." The Supreme Vorax reached the water's edge, extending specialized sensory appendages to analyze the depth and composition. Its enhanced vision systems focused on Behemoth's submerged form directly ahead, but failed to detect the subtle movements in the surrounding waters. "What are we seeing?" Harrison asked, leaning closer to the display. "Adaptation," Amara replied simply. As the Supreme Vorax waded into the shallows, the water erupted, not from one direction, but from all sides simultaneously. Behemoth charged from the front while members of his pod surged from every angle. 12 hippos, each weighing over 4 tons, converged on the bioengineered creation in a coordinated attack pattern never before documented in hippopotamus behavior. The Vex-Car commanders clicked in alarm. Their creation had been designed to counter a single overwhelming force, not a coordinated attack from multiple vectors. The Supreme Vorax's neural processors struggled to calculate appropriate responses as massive jaws clamped down on its limbs, tail, and sensory apparatus. "Unprecedented coordination," the Nalic commander observed, her skin flashing with excited patterns. "They're disabling its weapon systems first." The battle lasted longer than the original encounter, nearly 3 minutes of violent struggle that churned the delta waters into a frothy crimson. But the outcome proved identical. The Supreme Vorax, for all its enhanced engineering, collapsed beneath the onslaught of coordinated natural force. Behemoth delivered the final blow, his enormous jaws crushing the neural processor core with a decisive snap. In orbit, the Nalic representatives presented the Vex-Car High Command with terms of surrender. Screens showed similar victories across Earth as wildlife and humanity together repelled the invasion through unpredictable adaptive responses that no simulation could have predicted. 6 months later, representatives from 32 sapient species gathered at the newly established Galactic Council outpost near the Delta. Amara led them on a carefully supervised tour of Behemoth's territory, now a protected interstellar biological preserve. The Vex-Car's fundamental error wasn't technological, she explained as the group watched Behemoth patrol these waters. It was philosophical. They believed perfect design comes from controlled engineering. They forgot that evolution doesn't seek perfection. It rewards success in complex, unpredictable environments. A young Vex-Car scientist, part of the new cultural exchange program, studied the hippos with genuine curiosity. The insectoid observer's mandibles moved thoughtfully as it recorded observations. "We engineered for specific metrics: strength, speed, offensive capability," the Vex-Car noted. "Your hippopotamus evolved for survival in complex ecosystems where metrics constantly change. Both approaches have merit, but yours proved more adaptable." As sunset painted the delta gold, Behemoth rose partially from the water, surveying his expanded territory. His broken tusk and battle-scarred hide told the story of a life defined not by design specifications, but by countless adaptations to real challenges. The pod moved around him in practiced formations that continued to evolve with each passing month. "That's humanity's lesson to the galaxy," Amara said as the delegates prepared to depart. "Sometimes the most powerful force isn't the most elegant solution. It's the one shaped by millions of years of solving real problems." In the distance, Behemoth's territorial call echoed across the water, a sound once heard only in Africa, now recognized across the stars as the voice of unexpected resistance, the call of evolution's enduring power. Earth had not just survived. It had taught the galaxy a new understanding. And in the waters of the Okavango Delta, a hippo that aliens had dismissed as a primitive water cow continued his endless patrol, guardian of a legacy that now extended far beyond his river home to touch distant worlds among the stars.